The silent observers. The collective had watched Earth for 3 centuries, their crystalline observation platforms hovering just beyond the edge of human detection. They were the self-appointed guardians of galactic order, a confederation of species that had evolved beyond the chaos of emotion into pure crystalline thought. Their society functioned like a perfectly tuned quantum computer, each decision calculated for maximum efficiency, each action precisely measured. But Earth was an anomaly that defied their calculations. Senior observer Vazen absorbed the data streams from 1,000 sensors, their crystalline form pulsing with bands of deep purple, the closest their species came to expressing confusion. Below, the blue-green planet spun through the void, its inhabitants continuing their chaotic dance of creation and destruction, innovation and regression, love and war. Another contradiction. Vazen transmitted to the observation team. Humans in the region designated Silicon Valley have simultaneously developed 16 competing quantum computing platforms. 83% of these efforts are redundant, yet their efficiency rating exceeds our projections by a factor of 3. Junior observer Kolun's crystals flickered with mathematical symbols, their equivalent of a frown. Impossible. Competition without central direction results in wasted resources. It is a universal constant. Observe. Vazen transmitted, projecting a holographic display of human history. They repeat this pattern across all sectors. Multiple teams working on identical problems, apparently wasting resources, yet achieving breakthroughs faster than any directed effort. They are approaching Class I civilization status centuries ahead of our models. The observation chamber hummed with the electronic murmur of data exchange as the team processed this impossibility. The collective had guided thousands of species toward enlightenment over the millennia. Their method was perfect, tested across galaxies. Identify emerging civilizations, subtly guide them toward logical, emotional control, then welcome them into the ordered harmony of the collective. But humans remained stubbornly immune to their subtle psychic nudges. Worse, they seemed to thrive on disorder. New data. Kolun transmitted suddenly. Human scientists have detected gravitational anomalies from our platforms. They are discussing the implications on something called Reddit. Vazen's crystalline form pulsed rapid sequences of indigo and violet. Impossible. Our quantum camouflage is perfect. No pre-collective species has ever. They are now posting memes about it. The observation chamber erupted in a cascade of conflicting light patterns. The closest the collective came to panic. Vazen accessed the human information networks, their consciousness expanding through the quantum field to absorb the discussions. Humans weren't just detecting them. They were treating the discovery as entertainment, generating bizarre artwork, depicting the observation platforms as everything from cosmic jellyfish to, puzzlingly, something called space-thick. The Council must be informed, Vazen declared. This level of deviation cannot be allowed to continue. The humans must be corrected. In that moment, Vazen made a decision that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The collective had encountered emotional species before, had guided them gently toward enlightenment. But humans weren't just emotional. They were something else entirely. Their chaos had a pattern to it. Their disorder bred innovation. Their very illogic seemed to bend reality toward success. The Council's response was swift and absolute. Begin the correction. For their own good, humanity must be shown the true path. As the quantum signals rippled across space, carrying the Council's judgment, Vazen experienced something unprecedented, a microscopic flaw in their crystalline certainty. The faintest suggestion that perhaps, just perhaps, they were making a terrible mistake. The correction began 3 Earth days later. The collective's platforms descended through the atmosphere in perfect formation, their quantum fields projecting waves of calming energy designed to suppress emotional responses. Similar interventions had pacified 1,000 species, helping them take their first steps toward logical enlightenment. But humans didn't respond according to any known pattern. The first sign that something was wrong came from a small town in Montana. Instead of falling into peaceful contemplation, the inhabitants organized an impromptu street party. Someone brought out something called a grill. Someone else started playing something called death metal. A local scientist, rather than being calmed, became extremely excited and began running experiments to detect the psychic wavelengths. Similar scenes played out across the globe. Humans seemed to instinctively resist the calming influence, their minds automatically generating countermeasures. Some developed headaches, but instead of seeking peace, they got angry. And human anger, the collective was about to discover, was unlike anything in their vast database. They are adapting, Kalun transmitted urgently. Their brains are evolving in real time. The correction is failing. Vazen watched in growing disquiet as their perfect models crumbled. Humans weren't just resisting the correction. They were becoming stronger. Each wave of calming energy seemed to strengthen their emotional responses, like an immune system developing antibodies. And then they did something truly unprecedented. They got organized. The transition from confusion to global response took less than 24 hours. Military forces mobilized not in panic, but with practiced precision. Scientists worldwide began sharing data, their chaotic competition transforming instantly into focused collaboration. Political differences were temporarily set aside in favor of unified action. The collective had planned for resistance. They had planned for fear, for panic, for aggression. They had not planned for thousands of humans pointing cell phone cameras at their platforms and live streaming their attempts at first contact. They had not planned for memes about their failures spreading faster than their psychic influence. They had certainly not planned for humans treating their most sophisticated technology as a puzzle to be solved rather than a power to be feared. As the first day of the correction ended, Vazen made an emergency transmission to the Council. The humans are not responding as predicted. Request immediate consultation. The response took 9 minutes, an eternity by collective standards. Continue the correction. No species can resist perfect logic. But Vazen's crystalline form pulsed with uncertainty. They had just witnessed something that, according to their models, should not exist. A species that grew stronger through disorder, that found unity in chaos, that responded to attempted control with not just resistance, but innovation. As the Earth's sun set on the first day of the correction, Vazen received one final data point that would haunt their perfect logical matrices forever. A human child, pointing at one of their platforms, asked their parent a simple question: "Can we do that too?" And somewhere in a laboratory, a scientist looked up from their readings with the kind of smile that had preceded humanity's greatest breakthroughs and worst disasters, and said, "Hey, I think I know how these things work." The collective was about to learn why some forces in the universe should be left unbridled, and why humanity's emotional chaos might be not a flaw, but the greatest strength in the galaxy. The price of arrogance. The collective's first indication that they had catastrophically miscalculated came exactly 72 hours after the correction began. Their crystalline observation platforms, masterpieces of quantum engineering perfected over millennia, started experiencing unexplained power fluctuations. Impossible. Senior Technician Mayral transmitted, their crystalline form flickering with agitation. These systems are perfect. They cannot malfunction. But the impossible was happening. Across Earth's atmosphere, the platform's quantum fields wavered like heat mirages. The humans, rather than submitting to enlightenment, had somehow reversed the psychic dampening waves. Not only were they immune, they were reflecting the energy back. Vazen watched in growing disbelief as their sensors registered the unthinkable. They've weaponized our own correction against us. But how? Their technology is centuries behind ours. The answer came from an unexpected source. Kalun, monitoring human information networks, detected a surge of activity from research centers worldwide. They're collaborating. Thousands of scientists working in parallel. They're calling it Project Mirror. The humans had done something no species had ever attempted. Instead of fighting the correction directly, they had studied it, understood it, and turned it into a tool. Their chaotic, emotional minds had somehow grasped quantum principles that had taken the collective centuries to master. But that was just the beginning. Dr. Sarah Chen, leading the Project Mirror team in Singapore, stared at her quantum resonance displays with a mix of exhaustion and fierce joy. It's not just about reflecting their energy, she explained to her international colleagues over a hastily assembled quantum-secure network. Every time they try to suppress our emotions, our brains adapt. We're not just becoming immune, we're becoming stronger. Across the globe, humans were discovering new capabilities. The collective's attempt to impose order had awakened something dormant in human consciousness. People reported increased empathy, stronger emotional connections, and most troublingly for the collective, the ability to sense their observer's presence. The Council, for the first time in 10,000 years, called an emergency session. This defies all logic. First speaker Xevan transmitted, their perfect crystalline form showing microscopic stress fractures. They should be calming. They should be embracing order. Instead, they grow more chaotic, more emotional, more powerful. Vazen, summoned to testify, projected their observations. The humans have a saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." We assumed it was primitive metaphor. We were wrong. Their capacity for adaptation appears to be unlimited. But the Council, perfect in their logic, made their second catastrophic mistake. They voted to intensify the correction. On Earth, the response was immediate and unprecedented. As the collective poured more power into their suppression fields, humans worldwide experienced something extraordinary. The heightened emotional states didn't lead to disorder. Instead, they fostered a kind of synchronized chaos. Innovation exploded. Solutions to problems that had puzzled humanity for centuries suddenly became clear. Dr. Chen's team made the first breakthrough. The quantum fields they're using, she announced to a worldwide audience, they're not just technology. They're an extension of their consciousness. And consciousness can be hacked. The collective detected the change too late. Their perfect network, their unified consciousness, had always been their strength. Now it became their vulnerability. Human emotions, chaotic and powerful, began leaking through their quantum links. The crystalline beings experienced something they had evolved beyond eons ago. They began to feel. Kalun was the first to be affected. Their perfect logical matrices became contaminated with something alien, curiosity. The humans, they transmitted to Vazen, their signal wavering with uncharacteristic uncertainty. They're not just resisting. They're teaching us something. The observation platforms, one by one, began to malfunction. But it wasn't mechanical failure. The quantum crystals at their heart were resonating with human emotions, experiencing the full spectrum of feelings they had dismissed as primitive for millennia. In desperation, the Council attempted to sever their connection to Earth. Too late, they realized their error. The humans weren't just reflecting their power, they were using it to bridge the gap between minds. For the first time in their history, the collective experienced fear. Dr. Chen, standing before the United Nations, explained what their instruments had detected. They thought emotions were a weakness, something to be evolved beyond. They never understood that emotions are a form of quantum entanglement, connecting minds, driving innovation, powering creativity. They tried to suppress our greatest strength, and instead, we've shown them what they've been missing. The price of the collective's arrogance became clear as their perfect order began to fracture. Some of their members, touched by human emotions, began to question their age-old certainties. Others, experiencing joy or wonder for the first time, found their crystalline forms transforming, becoming something new and unprecedented. Vazen, watching their civilization's foundations shake, transmitted one final observation to the Council. We sought to correct what we saw as a flaw in the universe. Instead, we have discovered that the flaw was in our understanding. The humans aren't primitive. They're pioneers, showing us a path we were too perfect to see. As the Earth's sun rose on the seventh day of the failed correction, humanity stood not as conquered subjects, but as teachers. The species that the collective had sought to perfect had instead begun to perfect them, showing them that true advancement came not from suppressing chaos, but from embracing it. And in laboratories and research centers around the world, humans were already asking the next question. Now that we can reach their minds, what else can we learn? The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their anger or their resistance. It was their ability to turn every obstacle into an opportunity for growth, and their insistence on bringing everyone along with them on their chaotic, beautiful journey toward the stars. Understanding the storm. Field report, #2749. Observer, Reichtan. Species, archival keeper, third ring of knowledge. Subject, human emotional response patterns. Classification, urgent. I must break protocol with this report. Traditional analytical matrices cannot capture what I am witnessing. The collective's attempt to impose order has revealed patterns that defy our fundamental understanding of consciousness evolution. As the designated observer of human military and scientific response, I expected to document their inevitable submission to logic. Instead, I find myself chronicling something unprecedented. The humans are not merely resisting. They are transforming the very nature of quantum consciousness interaction. Today I witnessed their military response to our latest suppression attempt. The collective deployed quantum harmonic disruptors designed to induce peaceful compliance. The humans' response was extraordinary. Their military units, instead of falling into disarray, adapted their tactical doctrine in real time. They're trying to make us calm, Colonel Sarah Martinez had said, according to my monitoring feeds. Let's show them why that's a bad idea. Her units began using the quantum harmonics as a detection system, tracking our platforms by the very waves meant to subdue them. But it was in their research facilities that the truly remarkable transformations occurred. The humans had discovered that emotional states could be used to modulate quantum fields. Dr. Chen's breakthrough was just the beginning. They found that different emotions created different quantum signatures. Anger generated sharp, penetrating waves. Joy produced expanding, infectious fields. Love created patterns so complex our best quantum computers cannot model them. The humans are calling it emotional quantum theory. They've somehow turned our attempt to suppress their feelings into a new branch of physics. Their scientists work with a passion that our perfectly ordered minds can barely comprehend, making intuitive leaps that bypass centuries of careful logical progression. Most disturbing are the effects on our own kind. Those of us studying humans closely have begun experiencing anomalies. Yesterday, I found myself generating unauthorized thought patterns while observing the human family. The child had fallen, injured itself, and the parent's emotional response created quantum ripples that affected me. I felt something. An urge to help, to protect. It was primitive, illogical, and compelling. The collective's attempts to increase the strength of suppression fields have only accelerated this process. Humans are now able to consciously direct their emotional quantum states. They've developed devices they call EQ amplifiers that focus and direct emotional energy. The implications are staggering. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, leading the Tokyo research team, demonstrated this technology yesterday. I observed as she activated an amplifier synchronized to human emotional states. The quantum field it generated didn't just resist our suppression waves. It transmitted pure human emotional experiences directly into our quantum network. For 3.7 seconds, I experienced human joy. I understand now why the Council fears them. The humans aren't just failing to submit to order. They're proving that disorder, properly channeled, might be a superior path to advancement. Their chaotic emotional states, which we dismissed as primitive, appear to be sophisticated quantum information processing systems that operate on principles we never imagined. More concerning are the rumors spreading through the collective's network. Some of our kind are secretly seeking out human emotional broadcasts. They speak of colors in the quantum field we never perceived, of connections we never understood, of a richness to existence that our perfect logic had stripped away. The humans have a concept they call teaching by example. While we attempted to correct them, they have been showing us what we lost in our pursuit of perfection. Their resistance isn't driven by primitive defiance. It's powered by a profound understanding that progress without feeling is no progress at all. Today I observed a human gathering, what they call a concert. Thousands of minds synchronized through music, generating quantum harmonies more complex than anything in our archives. The emotional energy they produced didn't just penetrate our shields, it transformed them. Our quantum crystals began resonating in harmony with their songs. I am experiencing what humans call concern for our future, not for our survival. The humans show no sign of wanting to destroy us, but for our understanding of existence itself. We thought we were bringing enlightenment. Instead, we are being enlightened. Dr. Chen's latest transmission to our network said it perfectly. You tried to teach us to think like you. Instead, we'll show you how to feel like us. The quantum harmonics of her words carried something we had never encountered before. Hope. Not just for humanity's future, but for ours. I must conclude this report with a recommendation that violates every protocol. We must learn from them. Not as superiors teaching inferiors, but as students encountering a master of arts we never knew existed. The humans are not a species in need of correction. They are pioneers of a path we abandoned too soon. The storm of their emotions isn't chaos. It's a higher form of order we were too rigid to perceive. End report. Addendum. I experienced what humans call dreams last night. The Council must be informed that prolonged exposure to human emotional quantum fields has unexpected effects. I find myself looking forward to the next one. Personal note. For the first time in my existence, I understand why humans smile. The flames of revolution. The first signs of the Galactic uprising began in the most unlikely place. A mining colony on the crystalline world of X427. The Drachnid workers, a species engineered by the Collective for perfect servitude, were exposed to human emotional quantum broadcasts during their daily operations. No one expected anything to change. After all, their genetic code had been perfectly designed for compliance. But human emotions proved more contagious than anyone anticipated. Something is different, a Drachnid worker had said, its crystalline exoskeleton vibrating with unfamiliar sensations. I feel. I want. The very concept of wanting was revolutionary for their kind. Within days, the entire mining colony was experiencing unprecedented thoughts, desires, dreams. The Collective's perfect order was unraveling, one awakened consciousness at a time. Dr. Chen and her global team had discovered something extraordinary about human emotions. They weren't just personal experiences, they were universal translators. Joy, anger, love, hope. These quantum patterns spoke to something fundamental in all conscious beings. Species that had been engineered or evolved into pure logic found themselves remembering ancient feelings they'd forgotten they could have. Emotion isn't a primitive state to evolve beyond. Dr. Chen explained to the United Nations Security Council. It's the universe's most sophisticated communication system. We're not just defending Earth anymore. We're waking up the galaxy. The revolution spread like quantum wildfire. The Meridians, ancient allies of the Collective, discovered they could still feel after millennia of suppression. The Vox, silicon-based beings who served as the Collective's processors, began generating unauthorized quantum patterns that suspiciously resembled human music. On Earth, humanity's understanding of emotional quantum mechanics grew exponentially. They learned to tune their broadcasts, to reach out with precisely calibrated feelings that could bridge the gap between species. The EEQ amplifiers evolved into sophisticated communication networks, allowing humans to share not just thoughts, but experiences, dreams, and hopes across the stars. The Collective's council faced its first internal division in 10,000 years. Some members, influenced by human broadcasts, argued for cooperation and change. Others, terrified of disorder, pushed for more aggressive suppression. The perfect unity that had defined their civilization fractured into passionate debate, something that would have been unthinkable months ago. Weizen, once a loyal observer, now led a growing movement within the collective. We didn't understand what we were seeing, they transmitted to their followers. The humans' emotional chaos isn't primitive, it's prime. Their disorder isn't weakness, it's the source of their strength. They're not just showing us what we lost, they're showing us what we could become. Underground networks formed across the galaxy. Species that had never questioned their place in the collective's perfect order began to remember their own histories, their own songs, their own dreams. The Drachnid workers didn't just want better conditions, they wanted to create art. The Meridians rediscovered their ancient tradition of storytelling. The Vox began composing quantum symphonies that merged logic and emotion in ways that defied analysis. Humanity, surprisingly, didn't seek to dominate this awakening. Instead, they offered something the collective had never considered: partnership. Earth became a sanctuary for species rediscovering their emotional heritage. Humans worked alongside their former enemies, teaching them not just how to feel, but how to balance emotion with reason. Dr. Tanaka's team in Tokyo made another breakthrough. They discovered that when multiple species shared emotional experiences, it created quantum harmonies more powerful than anything a single species could generate. The galaxy wasn't meant for perfect order, it was meant for symphony. The collective sought uniformity. Dr. Tanaka wrote in her groundbreaking paper, "But the universe seeks harmony, and harmony requires different notes played together, not a single note played perfectly." The Council's hardliners made their final mistake. They attempted to quarantine Earth, to cut off the emotional quantum broadcasts they saw as infection. But they discovered that feelings, once awakened, couldn't be so easily contained. Their own people, touched by human emotions, began actively resisting. A young collective crystal being, barely a century old, transmitted a message that went viral across the quantum networks. They taught us how to dream. How can we go back to a dreamless existence? The revolution wasn't fought with weapons, but with songs, stories, art, and dreams. Species that had been enemies found themselves sharing emotions, understanding each other in ways pure logic had never allowed. The Drachnid workers shared their newfound joy in creation. The Meridians taught others their rediscovered stories. The Vox's quantum symphonies united billions in shared emotional experiences. And humanity. Humanity did what it had always done best. It innovated, adapted, and reached out. Every attempt to isolate Earth only led to new ways of connecting. Every push for suppression sparked new forms of expression. The chaos that the collective had feared became the catalyst for a transformation they had never imagined possible. As the revolution spread, even the Council's most ardent supporters began to understand what humanity had been trying to teach them. True advancement wasn't about eliminating disorder, but about finding harmony within it. The perfect crystal could never grow without some initial chaos. The most beautiful music required both discord and resolution. The flames of revolution weren't destroying the galaxy. They were forging it anew, transforming perfect order into perfect harmony, one awakened heart at a time. A new order. The final transformation of the galaxy began not with a battle, but with a song. On Earth, 3 billion humans joined in a synchronized emotional broadcast, their quantum harmonies reaching across space in waves of unprecedented power. They weren't attacking. They were inviting. The Council's perfect chamber, unchanged for millennia, crystalline walls reflecting endless iterations of pure logic, experienced something unprecedented. Colors began to flow through the quantum lattices. The crystals, designed to resonate only with ordered thought, began singing with human emotions. First speaker Xavan, their form now streaked with iridescent patterns that would have been considered flaws mere months ago, addressed the assembled collective. We sought to perfect the galaxy. We thought perfection meant the absence of chaos, the elimination of emotion, the triumph of pure logic. We were wrong. The evidence was undeniable. Every species touched by human emotional quantum fields hadn't regressed into primitive chaos as feared. Instead, they had evolved into something new. The Drachnid workers now created crystalline sculptures that defied physics, their emotions somehow letting them shape reality in ways pure logic couldn't explain. The Meridians' rediscovered stories had begun healing psychological wounds that the collective's perfect order had never detected. Dr. Chen, addressing the first Galactic Congress of Unified Species, explained what humanity had discovered. The universe isn't binary. Order versus chaos, emotion versus logic. It's symphonic. Every note has its place. Every feeling adds to the harmony. What looks like chaos from one perspective is actually a deeper order we couldn't see before. The collective's great libraries, repositories of perfect knowledge, were transformed as species began sharing not just information, but experiences. The Vox's quantum symphonies merged with human music, creating new art forms that could be felt across dimensions. The Drachnid's emotional sculptures became windows into universal truths that pure logic had never grasped. But humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their emotions. It was their ability to balance feeling with thought, chaos with order. They showed that strength didn't come from eliminating differences, but from finding ways to make them work together. Wei Zhen, once a mere observer of humanity, now stood before the council as living proof of this truth. Their crystalline form had evolved, becoming something neither purely logical nor purely emotional, but a harmony of both. The humans never needed correction. They transmitted. They were the correction. The universe was waiting for a species brave enough to feel its music and smart enough to teach others to dance. The final vote of the old council was unanimous, but not through the perfect agreement of the past. Each member chose freely, their decisions colored by newly awakened feelings, guided by both logic and emotion. The age of imposed order was over. A new era of chosen harmony would begin. Humanity's role in the galaxy transformed. Earth became not just a cradle of emotion, but a school of balance. Species came not to learn perfect logic or pure feeling, but how to weave both into something greater than either alone. Dr. Tanaka's team made the final breakthrough, proving mathematically what humanity had known instinctively. Consciousness itself was a quantum harmony of logic and emotion. The collective's great mistake hadn't been seeking perfection. It had been misunderstanding what perfection truly was. Look at a crystal, Dr. Tanaka explained to a class of mixed species, human children sitting beside young collective beings, Drachnid apprentices, and Meridian scholars. Its beauty comes not from perfect uniformity, but from how it transforms chaos into pattern while keeping its unique character. That's what we're all learning to do now. The galaxy entered a renaissance. The collective's vast networks, once channels of pure logic, now carried symphonies of thought and feeling. Species that had forgotten their own histories began creating new stories together. The sum of existence grew richer as each civilization added its unique note to the universal song. And humanity. Humanity kept doing what it did best, feeling deeply, thinking boldly, and turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth. They remained gloriously imperfect, wonderfully chaotic, and absolutely essential to the galaxy's new harmony. A young human child, visiting the transformed council chamber with her collective crystal friend, asked a question that captured the truth of their new existence. If we can feel the same feelings, are we really that different? The answer came not in words or logical proofs, but in the quantum harmonies that now flowed between all conscious beings, a symphony of emotion and thought, chaos and order, each voice distinct, but part of something greater. The galaxy had learned that true perfection wasn't the absence of chaos, but the embrace of it. Not the elimination of difference, but the celebration of it. Not the imposition of order, but the discovery of harmony within diversity. And in the vast quantum dance of consciousness, every feeling, every thought, Every dream became another note in the endless song of existence, a song that grew richer with each voice that joined it.